Hello, Big Team. Hello, friends. Welcome to Lizziefaye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and it is time to share with you my reading plans, not only for September, but kind of for the whole fall, because there are a couple of reading challenges that I'm participating in that run for all 3 months of September, October, and November. And I also have some reading goals specifically for September. And I want to share those with you today. I might end up breaking this into two videos because I sort of have specific goals for my print reading and then specific goals for my audiobook reading, but I think I can squeeze it all into one because I've already kind of done a rough draft. I filmed this on Wednesday, which is supposed to be in my organization of things, of my life organization. I film on Wednesdays, but I filmed a TBR video and it just felt disjointed. I felt like I didn't have my head together. I didn't know exactly what my focuses were going to be, other than the fact that I knew I wanted to do some print reading and I knew I wanted to do some prompts for some of the readathons and reading challenges. But I really just needed to take a minute and just really nail it down. So my first goal, really my first thing to do, was prioritize, because we all know we have way more books that we want to read than what will ever get read in our lifetime, for most of us that are, bookish people. And, it really boils down to two different types of reading for me. I can just zoom through some audiobooks. Today's September 2nd, and I haven't started an audiobook today, but yesterday I listened to two. Now, one was just a 30-minute short story on audio, but still, I felt like, okay, I got two under my belt already, and now I can take today to just listen to some YouTube videos, do this, film this video, and go from there. But I want to accomplish. I want to get through quite a few audiobooks, and I need to kind of plan a strategy for that. Usually it's whatever readathons that I want to do. By plugging those into certain things, then that gives me some focus, because otherwise it's just like all these books and I have to figure out a way to narrow it down. I had a local friend, tell me one time that they couldn't imagine doing a reading challenge. That would take all the fun out of reading. But for me, it makes it fun, not only because I'm goal-oriented, but it just gives me a focus because I have so many things I want to read. And then for my print reading, I always, of course, have way more books that I want to read than what I can get done. And these are books that I either can't get on audio or I don't want to buy them on audio or whatever. And so I end up, needing to read them in print for one reason or another. And I own a lot of books that I need to read in print, and I always tend to put those off because, if I get library books that need to be read in print, then I always feel like, there's a need to get those done. I'm happy to say I did get a couple of library books done in August, right under the wire, the last day of August. But they were library books that I had been checking out repeatedly. I think I had checked them out in both my daughter's names a couple of times, in my own name. So if you look back at our library histories, it looks like we've each read those books like 2 or 3 times, because it's just taken me so long to get to them because I had to read them in print. Anyway, even worse though are my own books. So I have 4 books right now that I have carried over from previous months. They're my own books, so there's no great rush to read them, except that they're sitting on my currently reading Goodreads shelf, and I'm tired of seeing them there. I mean, I'm enjoying them for the most part. I'm just tired of looking at them on that shelf. I want to get them moved over to the red shelf. So my number one priority for September is to finish those 4 books. Now, does that mean that's all I'm going to read? No, because I'm not like that. I have to read more things, and I have other things, and other reading goals that I want to accomplish. So let me first just go over what I've decided to do and, how I am approaching my print reading goals for the month. Now, occasionally over the last few years, I have made charts in my reading journal for page goals per day. I don't do it every month, but I do like to do it, and occasionally I will even color it in with colored marker or a colored pencil when I meet each goal. Like here's one from, when was this? August of last year. Okay. Well, so this year, I haven't done it very much because it takes time to sit down and draw this all out and figure it out. But I knew that if I was going to get this done and get these 4 books done, as well as other things that I've already started, I needed a definite plan that I can check off as I go. So this is what my chart looks like for September. And basically what this says, it's got a enough space for each of the books that I'm reading. I have already started, in addition to the 4 books I carried over from previous months, I've already started 5 other books in print. Now, they're not all long. In fact, 2 of them I'll be able to get done within the first half of the month, if not sooner. And I'll tell you why I started these other books. But basically, what I have done is I've written out the name of the book and what page I started on of the ones that I've carried over, and how many pages I have left to read in that book, and then divided that number of pages by 30, because I did read from all of these yesterday. Today's the 2nd, as I said earlier. And so I have over here the average number of pages that I need to read per day in order to finish, for these first 4 books, in order to finish by the end of the month. So let me just go through each one. I have the first one on the list is Pioneer Girl. I started this in February for the Little House Readathon. I had intended to start it last year for the Little House Readathon, and maybe even the year before that. I finally got started on it. I knew that I was not going to read it in a 1-month period, or especially not in a 4-day period, which is how long the Readathon is. But I used that as my motivation to get started. And there have been months when, I think a couple months that I didn't pick it up at all. I don't think I read it at all during March Mystery Madness, and probably not during Middle Grade May, things like that. But over the last few months, I have been making a more concerted effort to pick it up and at least read like 3 pages. I've probably averaged about 3 pages a day on the days that I've picked it up. Now, sometimes I read 7 or 8 pages. It just depends on what I have, what I have going on and the amount of time I have for that day. So if you don't know what this is the book that Laura Ingalls Wilder wrote. It's her autobiography that she wrote about her life before she ever even really thought about writing children's books. So then this material that she wrote down and had her daughter to help edit, the 2 of them together basically took these stories and adapted them into books for children. So this is the original, and the Little House books that we know of today are a fictionalized version of her life, and this is more of her real life, real stories, real name, people and their real names and things like that. So at the beginning of the month, yesterday, I started on page 247 with 124 pages left. Now, it is about a 470-page book. There's maybe 60 pages of introduction that you have to read through before you ever get to Laura's writing. And then her, or maybe it's 70, then her portion is about 300 and... I don't know. I'm not good at math in my head. Anyway, altogether, it's like 430 pages. So I have 124 left. That means I need to read an average of 4.13 pages per day. So I haven't done quite as well so far in these last 2 days. I did read 4 pages yesterday, but today we had a thing at 10 a.m. and I just didn't have the luxury of sitting around and reading, but I was determined to pick it up, and I read 1 page. With the annotations and everything, and that's what I read. I might pick it up again later today, or I might not. But as long as I, kind of keep that goal in mind, there will be days when I'll be able to read more. So it'll all average out, and I think that I won't have any trouble reading that. So the next book that I started in February has a read-along, a failed read-along with Felicia from the Little Prairie Library. She finished it finally in April, and I'm still reading it. Now we're in September. But I started the month on page 529 with 445 pages left of this 973-page book. I am reading it in print. My library had it on CD. I checked out the first half. I don't know if they have the second half or not, but it was just, if my CD player was still working in my car, that's probably what I would have gone with. But it's not, and I find it harder to listen to CDs here in the house because I don't stand in one place long enough unless I'm washing dishes, and it's just better if I can listen to something on my phone. So anyway, I've been reading this in print, and there have been months that I didn't pick it up at all, and then some months where I really just did great on it. But if I read 14.8 pages per day on average, I should be able to finish this by the end of the month. Now, the chapters are long, but each chapter is divided into smaller sections, and those average about 15 or 16 pages. So I feel like if I could, kind of set a goal to read one of those sections every day, then, I should be good. And then I want to watch the adaptation. So I watched, by the way, I want to recommend this video to you. Berna from Berna's Bookish Adventures recently did a comparison where she talked about Pillars of the Earth in comparison to the movie adaptation. And I didn't even know there was a movie adaptation. And so I was commenting to her video, and she said, now there's going to be parts that, you're not going to like. She said, but then probably they're not any worse than they are in the book. And I totally get what she's saying, because there is one character in here that is just the most despicable imagination of a human being that I mean, the worst I can even imagine of humanity. And, I can't, I still have 445 pages. I don't even want to know what horrible things he's going to do in the last 445 pages. I feel like he's already up past here with how bad he can get. So, yeah, I can imagine that the movie is going to portray that. And that'll be tough because, man, he's awful. So, Berna, thank you for that for that heads up, because I hadn't really thought about it in those terms, that the visual would be really hard to take. But I do still want to watch it. My brother had originally recommended this book to me, and I think he's read, I don't know if he's read the whole series now, including the prequel, but there's 4. There's a trilogy plus a prequel, and I would at some point like to read them all. Can you believe I actually had the idea that maybe I could read 2 of these in one year, and then maybe next year read the other 2? No. I might be ready to tackle book 2 by next year, but I hope it doesn't take me all year to read it. My goodness, it's taken me so long to read this book, but it's well worth the time and effort to read it. It is a phenomenal piece of literature, very compelling. It's barbaric though, but really good. So that's the 2 big ones. Now, the other one that has been challenging for me because it's very dry. It's written kind of textbooky, and I wasn't really expecting it to be this dry. But, it's interesting information. I'm just kind of slogging my way through it. It's from my TBR jar. It's a nonfiction book. It's not really much to look at because it doesn't have a dust jacket. But this is the 1970s edition of Dare to Discipline by Dr. James Dobson. So he has updated it since then. This just happens to be the edition that I picked up at a library sale somewhere, and I don't even think I've ever seen a newer edition except on Goodreads, so I know they exist. But I thought, even though my kids are grown, I still, thought I could probably glean some things from this. And I was happy to see that there is a chapter on discipline in the classroom. And as a substitute teacher, that is the most difficult part of substitute teaching, because I tend to be a softie, and, I would rather just come in and, be their friend, and, have a good day without, much complications. But it doesn't always work that way. In fact, some of the best days I've ever had was when I came in with kind of a tougher, no nonsense attitude, and they were kind of like, oh, okay, you know. So, but I don't like doing that. But anyway, it's just written more from a, well, I don't know. It's just very textbooky. That's just all I'll say. But interesting material, and the chapter I'm finishing up right now. So this is the part that kind of gripes me a little bit about it. It has only 6 chapters, and I mean, there are. If this was a novel, that would drive me insane to have only 6 chapters, because I don't like long chapters. There are divisions where I can, stop, like there's question answer sections and things like that. But just for example, I'm right near the end of chapter 3, and when I got to where it said summary, I thought, oh, okay, good. A couple of pages and I'll be done with chapter 3. No, it's like 15 pages of summary. That's like saying everything all over again. So, I don't know, it might not be 15. Yeah, the chapter ends on page 131, and no, yeah, it is. And the summary starts on 117. So stuff like that just kind of gets under my skin a little bit, because I'm like, that's not a summary, that's a reiteration. But anyway, so I started it just about at the halfway point, at the beginning of this month. Started on page 117. See, it's not even that long of a book. It's just taking me so long to read it. I have 108 pages left, so I really only need to read 3.6 pages per day to finish it by the end of the month. Now, I know most of y'all are saying, read more than that, and just get it done. And there might be days when I can manage that, but really, 3.6 pages, 3 to 4 pages a day is enough. It really is. And then I can get on to something else. Because, I am ADD when it comes to reading. And when it's dry and textbooky, 3.5 pages is plenty. Okay. Then the other one I carried over, I just started over because I only ever read the first 2 chapters. And I think I even read those like in July. So I just started the whole thing over. This is Shades of Earl Grey by Laura Childs. I've been wanting to read this series. I own them all. I think, well, maybe there's 2 or 3 of the newest ones that I don't have yet. But it's a fun series. I just have to read them in print, at least until I get to maybe book 10. I think there are a few of these on Hoopla now on audio. So I want to read these, and I just started over. There are 20... I wrote it down. 25 chapters 25 chapters and 234 pages. So if I read a minimum of 7 to 8 pages a day, I will finish it by the end of the month. Or if I read a chapter a day, I'll finish it in 25 days. But yesterday, because I put it off till the very end, because see, this is a little book I can stick in my purse. So if I have places to go, I will probably tend to always put this off and let this be the last book I read from, because it's real easy to pop in my purse and take with me wherever I'm going. So that has partly been why it's taken me so long to read this, because I tend to do that. And I do need to, prioritize it a little bit more than that. Anyway, so because I put it off till the end, yesterday I only read 2 pages. And then, so today I still read those pages again, but I'm not counting those twice. I did finally today finish chapter 1. And so I read a total of 11 pages today. And the other thing I'm doing in my book is when I finish a chapter, I'm writing the number of pages I read in the box that's appropriate for today. And then I'm crossing a line through it, which shows I finished a chapter. Okay, so now you might think, okay, isn't that enough? You've got enough to read. And how many pages a day is that? Oh goodness, I'm going to do math in my head. If I read 8 plus 4 is 12, plus another 4 is 16, and then 14.8 or 15. So basically that's 30 pages a day. Anyone ought to be able to read 30 pages a day, right? Well, that's what I thought. So I can't stop there. Well, especially because I have one more book to read in my Penderwicks read along. We're on the Penderwicks at last. If anyone is still out there reading with me, I think maybe there's 1 or 2 people. But I had been wanting to reread this anyway, and it's been good to read one after the other because I had spaced them out pretty far apart my first time through, and I had forgotten a lot of the details. So the 4th book takes place several years after the first 3. The first 3 are pretty much right in a row. And then the 4th book is several years later. And then the 5th book is several years after the 4th book. So you have to kind of, you know, jump forward and realize that, you know, a lot of stuff has happened in the meantime. But this is 24 chapters, I believe. 23 chapters, 294 pages. And I didn't even I didn't divide it up how many pages I need to read per day. I'm just going to read a chapter a day. And if I miss a day, it's fine because there's only 23 or 24 chapters. I tell you, I cannot see without my glasses. 23 chapters. So that is the goal here. And I did. I read a chapter yesterday and I read a chapter today. And if I can finish it by the 23rd, then that will still give me several days that I can start another book or read another couple of books because I've got a couple of short things that I would also like to squeeze in, you know, at some point during the month as well. Okay, so that's 5 books in print. Now, you guys have, if you've been following me for a while, you know that in the morning I do a devotional time. I read some scripture, I read some kind of a devotional, have my prayer time, and a lot of you out there I pray for. So I am always going to continue to do that. And I usually start, I also read a devotion with Emily too. She's got a VeggieTales devotional book and I read that with her. So I usually read a journey magazine first, and then maybe if I have any other devotional book to read, I will, you know, read a little bit or something inspirational. I didn't have, I've got my devotion books and stuff over here. I didn't have a journey magazine for September. And so I started going through my my shelves. Well, I have a shelf here. I have some devotion books that I've already read that I might want to reread. I did kind of go through this and weed out and organize it early in the year. And I realized that I had several other inspirational books that I still wanted to read. A couple of other biographical books and just some other Christian-related books. And so I got them all out and decided what I wanted to read. And I started 4 more books. A couple of them are really small, but a couple of them I will probably stretch out throughout the month. So the 2 shortest ones, well, okay, this one is, since I don't have a journey magazine to start with, scripture reading, I'm reading this one first. 199 Promises of God. This is basically 199 different scriptures, and this is published by Barber, and it has them divided out onto 90 pages. So I need to read 3 pages a day, and that's what I'm doing. I read 3 pages yesterday and 3 pages today, and what helps me now is to put some kind of a little sticky tab as a bookmark, because sometimes Emily will pick up my books and my bookmarks will flutter out. So if I have something sticky, that will help me. So 3 pages a day of the 199 Promises of God. And then this is a little short book that's only 60 pages. It's been sitting on my shelf for a little while. It's a book that was published by Hallmark, and it's called I Will Lift Up Mine Eyes. It was edited by a woman named Betty Bishop, and it's basically, well, the subtitle is Inspiring Words of Comfort and Hope. It's got illustrations by Paula Krakovich, and it is excerpts from various well-known writers, philosophers, inspirational speakers, things like that. There's something in here from Abraham Lincoln. There is scripture references and other people I've never heard of, and many that I have. Here's St. Francis of Assisi, and Merle Lindbergh. So there's a little excerpt from Gift from the Sea. So I'm just, going to read like 6 to 10 pages a day, and probably finish this by the end of the week, or within a 7 or 8 day period. So it's just real nice. It's been sitting on my shelf for a while, and I just thought I needed to read it. And I realized I have a few other books of inspirational poetry, and I might try to read one of those every month, just to read through them, and then I could probably pass some of them on, or keep some to read later, or whatever. So then this one, How to Give Away Your Faith by Paul E. Little. Paul Little, I also went to high school with someone named Paul Little, but it's different Paul Little. He was the founder of the InterVarsity Christian Fellowship of the USA, which I believe is a college evangelical group. I remember hearing about InterVarsity when I was in college. I wasn't a member of it. I was a member of the Baptist Student Union and our church and things like that, so I didn't really have time to do anything else, but I heard of it. I knew about it. Anyway, my college, my Christian mentor from college gave me this book, and it is inscribed to me from her, and I never got around to reading it until now. It says, "May this be a mission of your life, to give away your faith. Love in Him, Joyce Sibley, Matthew 4:19." So I need to look and see what Matthew 4:19 says. I'm sure it's a scripture I should know, but anyway, I'm gonna read this, and it has a total of 131 pages, so 4.36 pages per day is what I need to read. I did read 11 pages yesterday, and that counts all the introductory stuff, like a couple of blank pages and stuff like that, and then 4 pages today. So I'm ahead of the game on that. And then the last one is a biography that I've had on my shelf for a while. I picked this up at a library sale. This is called Just As I Am, The Life of David Ring, as Told to Layla Gilbert, with a foreword by Jerry Falwell. I have seen David Ring speak at least 2 or 3 different times at youth evangelism conferences when I was a young person. And then I got to meet him. It was random, but it wasn't. It was at a traffic crossing, and I'm trying to think how old I was, probably in my 30s. And the Southern Baptist Convention was being held in Orlando this particular year. And no, I was probably in my 20s. Anyway, I wasn't a delegate to go, but I thought, I should just stop in and see what it looks like. And so I parked in the parking garage across from the big Orlando Convention Center, and I was waiting at the crosswalk, or maybe I walked up to the crosswalk getting ready to cross. And there was a man standing there waiting to cross as well. And I looked and I said, "You're David Ring." And he said, "Yes, I am." And so I walked across the street with him, and it was just so, it was so neat, because he is such an inspirational person. I mean, his life is a testimony. He was born, and right after birth, his brain was deprived of oxygen for long enough to give him cerebral palsy. So he has overcome so many different obstacles, but yet his physical body is he grew up, with the shakes, and he's just had to overcome a lot. And he's just such an inspirational person, and to hear him and his message of Christ and his evangelical message is just phenomenal. So anyway, I saw this somewhere at a book sale, library book sale or something. I was like, oh, I gotta get that. And it's been sitting on my shelf for a couple of years, and I've been wanting to read it. So I have finished chapter 1 now. It only has 10 chapters, so I don't think it'll take me all month to read. In fact, I have a goal of getting it done by the 15th, by the middle of the month. So not all of these are going to take me all month, but that's everything. That's all 9 of the print books that I am reading right now. So if and when I get those done, I thought, okay, now I've got to prioritize what else I want to get to. So I always look at the readathons, because I already have kind of made a plan of the readathons that I want to do. And I looked at the ones that are just for September, and I thought, okay, which of the books that I need to read for these readathons are print only. And I've got 3, possibly 4, but these are the 3 that are kind of top of the list as far as my own goals, and also just to read for the different prompts for the readathons. So The 21 Balloons by William Penne Dubois is the last Newbery winner that I need to read from the 1940s, and I must get this read this month. So when I finish a couple of these shorter ones, this is probably the next one that I will start. If it looks like everything else is going as planned and I'm going to have time to get any other books read, this is kind of a chunker, and it may take me longer than a month to read it, but the print, well, I was supposed to say the print's big, but it's actually not. But I love Debbie Macomber, and this is book 7 in a series. I loved the first, did I say 7? No. Yeah. I love the first 6 books. Really been looking forward to reading it. It's called Promise, Texas. This will count for the Fall into Reading Challenge. It's got these nice fall leaves on the cover, and it also counts for the Footloose Readathon because it's set in a small town. And it can count for Series September because it will further me into a series I want to finish this year. And I would love to read the next one as well. I want to finish this series this year because there's 8 books. So there's that. And then this one I picked up just because it would meet a prompt for the Footloose Readathon. By the way, I'm probably at this point going to do a separate video about all the readathons. But the Footloose Readathon is hosted by Lee from Dark Roots Creations. And one of the prompts is to read something that is from the 80s because Footloose was released in 1984. And this is a middle grade book that's a Newbery Honor book, and it was published in 1984. It's called One-Eyed Cat. It's by Paula Fox. She wrote Slave Dancer, which was a Newbery winner, and it's very compelling. Oh, such a good book. And I really would like to read this. I think it's going to be a tough read, but I do want to read it. And, you know, it's middle grade, so it's not super long either. So those are the main ones. I do have a couple of other nonfiction ones that are from my TBR jar, but really, if I can just get that Dare to Discipline done, I think I'll be fine as far as that goes, and I'll tackle the other 2 next month. And I am going to give myself permission to DNF those other 2 because I'm just not excited about reading either of them, and I really want to get on to drawing some more out of my TBR jar. I almost forgot one more print book that I need to squeeze in somewhere, if at all possible, and I may not get it finished until October. But this is a middle grade horror book that will finish a trilogy for me, so I would love to squeeze it in for Series September, or at least get started on it. And I'm buddy reading this series with Donna from Studio in the Library. Also, Storm from Storm Reads read the first one with us, and I don't know if she's going to get to finish the series or not. But anyway, over the last few months, we have been reading Hatch. It's by Kenneth Opel. This is book 2 in the Overthrow series. And I was going to forget this because I don't have a physical copy yet of the 3rd one. I've got it ordered from the library, but it's called Thrive. As soon as it gets here, I need to just go ahead and squeeze it in to my reading schedule, even if I just start out reading a few pages a day. And then by the time I start finishing up a couple of these others, then, you know, by that point, you know, when you get to the second half of a book, it's always easier to go faster because you're starting to really get into the book. Well, this is the 3rd book in a trilogy, and the second one ended on, you know, huge cliffhanger. So I should be able to jump right in to that and knock that out. So that is one of my other goals for a print book, at least to get started on for the month of September. Okay. So that's my print reading goals for the month of September. And, you know, I hope I can do it. I will probably do a mid-month wrap up and let you know how I'm doing. So I am going to do a separate video about what I'm going to read for all the other readathons. But just, you know, in case you've made it this far, let me tell you the 4 readathons that I am participating in. I am co-hosting the More Montgomery Challenge with Mitzi from Mitzi Reads and Writes. And I have a lot of things that I want to read and watch for that. But it is a challenge board of 9 prompts. It goes for 3 months. So if you want to jump in on that, we are hopefully going to get a Voxer group started this week. And we also have threads on my Goodreads group, Lizziefaye's Comfy Corner, so I hope you'll join in. The other 3-month-long reading challenge I'm doing for the 3rd year is the Fall Into Reading Challenge, and that was formerly hosted by Tia from All the Books and 3 other people. So Tia's not involved this year, but the other 3 are. Cozy Reader Kelly, I think, is kind of taking the reins of that, and her co-hosts are Angie from Literary Labors and Rainy from Rainy Day Reads. So be sure and check that out, and I will let you know what I'm reading for that in another video. And then the 2 September readathons that I'm doing, I already mentioned the Footloose readathon. It's hosted by Lee from Dark Roots Creations, so be sure to check out her announcement video for that. And there's some fun prompts that have to do with the Footloose movie. And then Series September, which is hosted by Kristen from Books and Jams and Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand. And since I've been focusing on series all year long with my Series About Series challenge, I shouldn't have any trouble knocking out most of those prompts for the Series September readathon. So I'll share with you in another video what I'm going to read for each of those. Read and or watch, because some of those have things that you can watch, including the More Montgomery Challenge. And so I'll share those with you in another video. Meanwhile, I hope you are having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.